Okay, so I'm gonna put a bit of a disclaimer here just to say that I am not an expert in any type of general relative physics, any quantum physics. I took a few courses and I did find them tough. But I did personally enjoy astronomy, and for that, I have recently just been looking up like the basics of what the universe is composed of, and I find it quite interesting on how little we know about the fundamentals of dark energy and matter. So basically, I had this very, basic fundamental thought that what if dark energy is just negatively charged mass that we can't see? And I know it sounds so simplistic, but yet when I was looking through the different theories, that isn't one of them that came up. Probably because it sounds a little too good to be true. But in theory, it makes sense a bit. I haven't obviously thought out um all of the restraints with this, but basically these are like my basic questions. So I have here dark energy, and then I just wrote repulsion theory. So I kind of asked, how does dark energy plus matter function? Where does it get its properties and abilities from? And also, too, the fact that we are constantly talking about the observable universe, but if dark energy makes up 68% and dark matter 27%, that means that we only know approximately what 5% of the universe is actually composed of. But and then I just started researching this theory a little bit. Well, what if what if the dark energy and I guess potentially matter, I haven't really sorted out the main differences in the two. But what if dark energy and dark matter is just made of negatively charged mass? Because basically, a normal atom, as most people in, basic chemistry and physics know, a normal atom's composed of a positive core with protons and neutrons that have electrons surrounding, in usually, from what I've learned slightly, in cloud form. So I didn't draw the usual diagrams for electrons just because we know that they're not always completely in shells, that they can move back and forth. I won't go into that because that's chemistry I haven't done in a while, and physics as well. So yeah, just discussing the basics here. This is just a theoretical idea. So I just wrote here, all components have positive mass, which creates attractional gravitational force. So basically, as we know with the sun is able to bend space-time, like the fabric of it, which then creates the gravitational pull for the planets to orbit. Now, I know I worded that very basically. I know it's a lot more complicated than that, but just going off the basics. So, if that's the case with how a regular normal atom functions, to think about how the universe can continually expand, and I do believe from what I've learned personally that it's expanding at a faster rate over time. How fast, I'd have to look up the numbers. I don't know. This is just like the basics, very basics of this theory that I've looked into. So yeah, if if the universe is expanding at a fast rate, and yet we have no clue, we know what it's composed of, but we don't know how it functions. But yet, if we have atoms that have an overall negative mass, we would have, as we could see, I wrote here just the basics of this theory. This could obviously be very wrong, but if components reversed, gravitational forces would accelerate in the opposing direction. And then this could potentially create that fluid dark energy background that we all know as space. It just sounds a little too basic to be true, but it's hard for it not to be. I'm trying to think, unless there's some other like minuscule component, like in terms of how we have like photons, and I'm trying to remember the name of the other one that makes up the components of electrons. Okay, I'll have to come back with that one, but basically, if we just have negative mass, which would make sense that for our visible eye, it would be dark. Because our visible eye is made of normal atoms, obviously, it would make sense that the opposing atom would be invisible, but would have gravitational forces that repulse and allow expansion. So I did look, there were some mathematical theories, like the one, I think it's Friedman's equation that Einstein used for general relativity to explain, I think it's to explain universal gravitational force. I looked a little bit into that. And if you put some limits and reverse the charge of mass, I mean, everything just repulses. So I'm trying to think if this could be true. I'd love to hear anybody who's in physics opinion, especially if you're doing any type of astrophysics, if you're specializing in dark energy theories or matter, whichever one, because I'm just trying to understand how this hasn't been suggested before. Maybe it has and I just haven't done enough research, but from what I could see, I couldn't find anything discussing this. So yeah, just some basic thoughts on how if you reverse an atom's ability in terms of its mass, that you would start getting repulsion, which could then explain the accelerated force expanding the universe to an extent. Obviously, there are a lot of things I'm not considering within this, but just a thought. Just a thought there. Anyways, thank you so much to anybody who heard me blab about how dark energy functions. I would love to hear any of your thoughts, any of your opinions, and any of your own personal theories on what you guys think makes up the majority of our universe, because it's tough to sit here and really think about the fact that we only see and know what 5% is composed of, and there's just so much space and energy that we don't even know how it functions. So I just started kind of thinking, okay, well, maybe it functions in the opposing effect. And if it's composed of negative mass, it would make sense that something composed of positive it isn't visible to it. Now, in terms of their attractive and unattractive forces, and as well as how do things of positive mass get created in the sea of negative, that's probably something that would have to be further explained from this, and maybe that could prove that this is just not true at all. But I figured I would theorize it and write it down. I'll probably try and make a video a bit on the mathematics and maybe some more of the complicated theories. Is obviously this gets very complicated, but I tried to make it as basic as possible for myself and as well for anybody watching who's interested in this issue as well. So yeah, anyways, again, thank you so much to anyone that watched. I'd love to hear your opinions and your own personal theories, and don't feel afraid to shoot something out there. I mean, I personally do, like, my slight bit of knowledge is more in the biological and biochemical sciences. That's what I did my degree in. So this is definitely not my field of expertise, but it is a massive interest for me. I love researching any theories on space and astronomy. I really do enjoy researching. So yeah, thanks again, everyone. Bye. Have a nice day.